Hello and welcome back. And everybody, Levi here. Today I've got definitely, I think, my jankiest deck tech I've ever made. Also my most expensive, and the reason it is so expensive is because I don't think it's actually possible to play this deck without proxying. I'll tell you why in just a moment, but the reason I put this deck together is because of one single card that came out from Mystery Boosters 2. It's Oracle of the Alpha, 2 and a blue for a 2/3 bird wizard with flying. It says when it ETBs, you conjure the power 9 into your library, then shuffle. Whenever it attacks, you scry 1, which is not the important part. The important part is the conjuring the power 9 into your library. If you don't know, the power 9, Ancestral Recall, Black Lotus, all the Moxes, those kind of things, those are the cards that you're going to be conjuring into your library. Also, conjuring is not the same as tokens. You're physically putting the card into your library and it stays there. Even if it goes to the graveyard, it still stays in your graveyard. So it's a physical card that is added to your deck. And the first thing I thought of when I thought I'm adding 9 cards to my deck is Battle of Wits. So this is a actual Battle of Wits deck. I mean, technically not, because the Oracle of the Alpha is not legal. It is an acorn card, but I don't care. This is a rule 0 deck, so if you feel like proxying this deck out and playing it, just let your opponents know this is definitely not legal, but it is super interesting. So I'll go over Battle of Wits here. 3 blue for an enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have 200 or more cards in your library, you win the game. So our entire game plan is revolved around staying alive long enough to get out our Oracle, flicker it between 10 and 15 times, depending on how long the game has gone on and how many cards we've drawn. We're just trying to stop our opponents from winning long enough so we can win with Battle of Wits. So the commander I chose for this strategy, I figured the best pick would be Oloro, Ageless Ascetic. It's 3 white, blue, and black for a 4/5 giant soldier. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 2 life. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. Each opponent loses 1. None of that matters because we're never going to be casting our commander. The important part, at the beginning of your upkeep, if Oloro is in the command zone, you gain 2 life. So from the very first turn, you're going to be gaining 2 life every single one of your upkeeps. That just lets us stay in the game a little bit longer. If our opponents happen to be attacking us, we at least have Oloro to kind of mitigate the damage. But the first category I'm going to go over here, a little bit different this time. I'm going to start with the utility because that kind of gives us an idea of what we're doing with the deck. Obviously, the first thing we need to do is get our Oracle of the Alpha onto the battlefield. So I threw in all the good tutors, Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, those kind of things, just to be able to tutor out either our Battle of Wits or our Oracle or anything we need. If we already have those 2 cards, we can tutor out some of our protection pieces. Next up, I have Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. 10 mana for a 12/12 Eldrazi. When you cast a spell, draw 4 cards, Annihilator 4. But the important text is when it's put into your graveyard from anywhere, you shuffle your graveyard into your library. So I have cards like Entomb that can go and grab our Kozilek and throw it into our graveyard. If our Oracle would actually happen to die, we can tutor out our Kozilek into the graveyard, shuffle our Oracle back into our deck, and then we can tutor it back out to our hand. So also I threw in Reanimate in case our Oracle would die. I have some recursion and some graveyard shuffle effects so we can either tutor it back out just in case our Oracle does die. That way we're not completely screwed and out of the game. This is a super reactive deck. I have all like 9 of the whatever best counter spells, the free ones, everything that's good. All the best counter spells I have in the deck. So playing it flash speed with Leyline of Anticipation is really important because I can play my other cards or hold up my mana for counter spells if I need to. 2 blue for an enchantment. If Leyline of Anticipation is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. It says you may cast spells as though they had flash. So if you happen to get it turn 1, that's great. You can have it out early for free. Otherwise, you just pay the 4 mana for it and you have flash speed on all your spells. I also threw Replenish in the deck, 3 and a white for a sorcery. Return all enchantment cards from your graveyard to play. Similar to like Reanimate for our Oracle. Battle of Wits is our only win con, so if it happens to die, I have Replenish in the deck to be able to get back into play. Also, this pairs really nicely with Leyline of Anticipation because if you have the Leyline out, Replenish in your hand, and you already have the 200 cards in your library, on your player to your right's end step, you could actually flash out Replenish, bring in the Battle of Wits, and win on your upkeep. That way your opponents have the smallest window to actually interact and kill your Battle of Wits before you win. Last card I'll talk about here in this category, Witch of the Moors. 3 black for a 4/4 human warlock with Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, which is every single turn, guaranteed with our commander, each opponent sacks a creature and you return up to 1 creature card from your graveyard to your hand. That's another way we can get our Oracle back to our hand. Also, it just stops our opponents by making them sacrifice creatures at every single one of our end steps. I didn't throw much card draw in the deck because we have the Oracle of the Alpha, so we will be able to conjure those Ancestral Recalls into our deck, and we have a lot of tutors, so I didn't think a lot of card draw was super necessary. However, I did throw in Well of Lost Dreams just because it pairs really nicely with our commander. If we have the extra mana, we're gaining the 2 life guaranteed every single turn, so if you have extra mana laying around, you can use it into the Well of Lost Dreams, draw a couple cards. But obviously the way we're going to be winning, flickering our Oracle of the Alpha. So I have cards like Deadeye Navigator, 4 blue for a 5/5 Spirit with Soul Bond. As long as it is paired with another creature, each of those creatures have pay 1 and a blue to exile it and then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So just 2 mana to flicker either the Deadeye or the Oracle. I also have Delny's Streetwise Lookout in the deck, 2 and a white for a 2/2 Human Scout. Creatures you control with power power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. It's kind of nice. We're not really going to be attacking, but the important part, if an ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So seeing as how our Oracle is 2 power, being able to double up its triggers just means we can get to that 200 cards a little bit faster. Obviously, I threw in Displacer Kitten, 3 and a blue for a 2/2 cat beast. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, blink up to 1 target non-land permanent. This also works really well against spot removal. If you have the Displacer Kitten on the field, somebody goes for your Battle of Wits, you can cast any instant speed spell, flicker your Battle of Wits, or whatever they're trying to remove, and that spell fizzles. Similarly to the Delny, I have Naban, Dean of Iteration, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 human wizard. If a wizard ET being under your control causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers twice. So that's, again, 2 mana to double up our Oracle's ETB trigger because it is a wizard. I have Roaming Throne in the deck for the exact same reason. I also threw in some copy effects like Rite of Replication, 2 blue for a sorcery with kicker 5. Create a token that's a copy of target creature, or if this spell was kicked, you create 5 instead. That's really going to be speeding up how quick you can get to the 200 cards in your library. Another flicker effect from Thassa, Deep Dwelling, 3 and a blue for a 6/5 god. The important part is it flickers something on your end step. Like I said earlier, I'm packing a lot of protection here so our opponents can't kill us before we can get our game plan off. So obviously I have Ghostly Prison, Propaganda, basically the same card, 2 and a white. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. Similarly, I have Machiko Konda, Truth Seeker, 3 and a white for a 2/2 human advisor. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you, that player sacrifices a permanent. So this is really good against those pinger decks. Not everybody is going in for combat damage, so some of them have like Aristocrats decks. Machiko Konda will help against that. Similarly, we have No Mercy, 2 black for an enchantment. Whenever a creature deals damage to you, destroy it. So again, doesn't care about combat damage, just damage in general, so those pingers are screwed. Fantastic fit in the deck to help us last a little bit longer. Rocks, Faith Mender, 3 and a white for a 1/5 Rhino, Monk, lifelink. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. So with this out and our commander in the command zone, we're gaining 4 life per turn. It's going to take our opponents a while to be able to deal with our life total when we have this kind of combo out. That's pretty much the gist of the deck. You know, you're trying to blink your Oracle the Alpha, win with Battle of Wits, and you're trying to stop your opponents from stopping you. So all the counter spells, all the protection, Oloro in the command zone, that is basically the entire strategy of the deck. That's why this costs like $1,100 for this deck. So definitely proxy this deck. Don't buy it. It's ridiculous, especially with the Oracle. You're gonna have to conjure out the power 9, and you don't have 15 Black Lotuses unless you're, I don't know, Post Malone or something, but I doubt he even does. That is it for this deck tech though. If you ever wanted to win with Battle of Wits, here is a deck that actually makes it possible with real cards, even though they're not legal. Let me know what you guys think of this video. I have the Archdeck link down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead and leave a like down below if you like this content. Subscribe if you want to see more deck techs from me. But that is all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, take care.